Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. We're going back to New Mexico. More updates. The dumpster fire continues to burn. And I got to tell you, man, when your governor doubles down, man, she really doubles down. Now, as we know, there's been a lot of opposition, some of which has been coming from the unusual sources. But today, some encouraging news because the chief legal officer for the state of New Mexico, well, he's got some things to say about this too. So today, let's get everyone up to date and let's talk about the New Mexico Attorney General tells the governor to pound sand. Okay, before we get going too far down the road, we're going down. Proud to announce that this video is being brought to you by Full Send Precision Rifles. Hey, check out the stuff Liam and his crew have been making. Listen, if you are finally ready to invest in a high-end precision rifle, look no further than Full Send Precision Rifles. Now, not only will they custom build a rifle in any caliber you want, but if you're looking for custom gunsmithing, whether it's a new firearm, whether it's an antique, whether you're looking for that hard-to-find part that nobody else can find, are you looking for a precision barrel in some kind of a weird caliber? Well, Liam and everyone at Full Send Precision has what you are looking for. Listen, they have their own line of lower receivers and suppressors. So for more information on one of America's premier precision rifle manufacturers, check out Full Send Precision. This is their contact information. Of course, you can also find them at fullsendfirearmsandammo.com. Tell them Bill sent you. Okay, back we go to the state of New Mexico. Like I said, the dumpster fire continues to rage. Now, as we know, after the governor, the good Governor Grisham there decided, hey, I know what's best for people in my state, and therefore what's best for them is I take control and I just alleviate a certain one of their constitutional rights, and therefore we will all be safer. Now, the pushback, the blowback was fast and furious. It's been huge, and yes, it's come from some sources that we don't typically see opposition to civilian disarmament measures. Don't believe me? Check out this interview where the governor not only doubled down, but tripled down with who? CNN.
But we also have, Governor, the Constitution of New Mexico and the Constitution of the United States, and you're an attorney. Do you think you're on solid constitutional ground here?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I had the right. I have the right.
Where is the right? Where is the right?
In the state of New Mexico.
Okay, so anytime you have a CNN reporter, okay, questioning the legitimacy and constitutionality of your actions, you have problems. Now, the governor, when asked, do you have constitutional footing, her answer after a long pause was, well, we're going to find out. Well, the problem for you now, Governor, is that I'm not sure who's going to defend this lawsuit for you. You see, because what typically happens is when a governor does something like this or a state action is taken, then the attorney general of that state is tasked with defending that state. In this case, that would be New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torrez. The problem for Governor Grisham, as the problems continue to mount now, Attorney General Torrez has sent a very sharply worded letter to the governor explaining exactly what his intention is, and his intention is to not even attempt to defend this executive order. As the Attorney General wrote to the governor, "Dear Governor Lujan Grisham, I am writing to inform you that my office will not defend your administration in the above referenced case challenging the public health emergency order imposing temporary firearm restrictions, drug monitoring, and other public safety measures, the emergency order issued by the Secretary of Health on September 8, 2023. Though I recognize my statutory obligation as New Mexico's chief legal officer to defend state officials when they are sued in their official capacity, my duty to uphold and defend the constitutional rights of every citizen takes precedence. Simply put, I do not believe that the emergency order will have any meaningful impact on public safety, but more importantly, I do not believe it passes constitutional muster. However, I encourage you to engage in a more thoughtful and deliberate process with members of the New Mexico legislature rather than taking unilateral action that infringes on the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens while having little, if any, discernible impact on the underlying dynamics driving gun violence in our community." The Attorney General then goes through and summarizes all of the restrictions of the order in great detail and then surmises, in short, the order prevents individuals from carrying firearms in public for the purpose of self-defense. The attempted reach of this order, despite currently being limited to Bernalillo County, is highly problematic because it purports to alter lawful firearms possessions in ways that are inconsistent with federal and state constitutions. I agree with the need to start a debate about the devastating impact that gun violence is having on our citizens, especially our children, but the issuance of an executive order in violation of core constitutional principles is not the appropriate method for bringing about such a debate, and its flawed legal foundation is likely to obscure rather than highlight meaningful solutions. First, the order's reliance on the Public Health Emergency Response Act distorts the law's meaning beyond its intended purpose of protecting the public from the imminent threat of exposure to a communicable disease. So as you can see here, what the governor's doing, and all of you who are in these really blue states where you just gave your governors blank checks to shut your state down during the pandemic, I want you to see now how they're going to use these health emergencies, because they are going to try to expand it. The Attorney General further points out, second, simply rebranding gun violence as a public health emergency will not satisfy the heightened judicial standard for justifying the blanket prohibition against any citizen, regardless of criminal conduct or intent, from carrying a firearm for personal protection. While no one doubts the devastating impact that gun violence has had on our community over the last several years, it is not clear that the problem is properly defined as a public health emergency, as that term is used in the FERA. Moreover, even if the problem is properly categorized as a public health emergency, the data do not support the conclusion that gun violence in our community is attributable to otherwise law-abiding citizens exercising their constitutional right to carry firearms for protection outside the home. As the former Bernalillo County District Attorney, I agree with your assessment that responsible gun owners are certainly not our problem and have never been our problem. Given that only responsible gun owners are likely to abide, much less recognize your ban, it is unclear how this action will lead to a measurable decline in gun violence in our community. And then even the Attorney General points out the dangerous territory that we go in, especially in light of what happened during the pandemic, as the Attorney General states. Moreover, considering the extraordinary resistance that many citizens have had to certain public health restrictions during the recent COVID pandemic, I believe it is unwise to stretch the definition of public health emergency to encompass something that is fundamentally a public safety issue. However, even if the courts agree with that classification and accept the premise that the ban on any person carrying weapons outside the home is deemed to be sufficiently tailored to address that concern, it is a near certainty that the emergency order will still be found to violate both the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 11, Section 6 of the New Mexico Constitution. The Attorney General then goes through several paragraphs outlining the very clear case law from Heller and McDonald and Catano and Bruin, and just basically laying out the fact that, listen, this is never ever going to survive constitutional muster. The Attorney General also points out, although the Second Amendment right is not unlimited, it is among those fundamental rights necessary to our system of ordered liberty. The New Mexico Constitution likewise secures the right to keep and bear arms. New Mexico's provision specifically applies to the security and defense, as well as to lawful hunting, recreational use, and other lawful purposes. And finally, the Attorney General comes to the inevitable conclusion, which is, for these reasons, my office cannot undertake a defense of the emergency order, and though we will provide a limited commission for your administration to defend those actions in the above referenced case, I strongly encourage you to consider whether the time and energy dedicated to its defense might be better utilized in the development of a comprehensive legislative response to the problem of gun violence for the New Mexico legislature to consider during the upcoming session. And then the Attorney General concludes this very well-written letter as follows. Our collective efforts should thus be engaged in a robust dialogue around each of these issues, building consensus that challenges the status quo and harnessing our once-in-a-generation budget surplus to bring about transformative change. This can only occur through the legislative process and will only occur through your committed and energetic leadership. While I understand that frustration may have led you to undertake a unilateral approach to address the heart-wrenching challenge of gun violence in our community, I urge you to reconsider this course of action and redouble your efforts to bring about lasting change through the democratic process. I can and will commit the resources of the Attorney General's office to such an endeavor and stand ready to assist you in building a safer community without sacrificing the constitutional rights which we have sworn an oath to preserve, protect, and defend. Signed sincerely, Raul Torrez, Attorney General, New Mexico. So kudos to you, Attorney General Torrez. That is a very, very well-written letter. We're going to link it up down below so that you guys could actually read the letter in its entirety. Listen, to Governor Grisham, this is what I would say, is that when your chief legal officer in your state, which happens to be from the same political party that you are, has written a 3-page letter saying that he in no way, shape, or form is going to defend your actions, well, I think that speaks volumes to the legality and the constitutionality and the propriety of your actions. And rather than correct measures and actually take this effort and go to your state legislature, you, for whatever reason, believe that you are now the emperor of the state of New Mexico and you know what is best. There are 6 lawsuits that are filed on this. The temporary restraining order was supposed to be heard today. It's now been delayed. What I think is happening is they're probably going to just consolidate all 6 of them. I have no doubt in my mind that the judge who's been assigned that case is in fact going to issue a temporary restraining order. This law is going to come to a quick death, but this issue will not, because we're going to see this in other states, and this tells you a lot about how this governor thinks about her citizens. Is there more to happen here? We shall see. Listen, if you have any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. If you don't, that's okay. That information is right down there in the description box. In the meantime, let's all remember that part of being a lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.